Good afternoon. If it's 2:30 on a Friday in an odd numbered year, it's all things advocacy with AARP North Dakota. I'm Josh Askvig, State Director for AARP. With me as always, Janelle Mose, our Advocacy Director. We're back.
We are.
We're back.
We're back.
So-
And we are right next to each other.
which is also a change for those of you who are watching. You were singing before the holiday break, and I couldn't help but notice that on Tuesday you were still singing it, even though the holidays are over, that in your opinion, it's the most wonderful time of the year. So do you want to tell our viewers why you think it's the most wonderful
It
time of
is.
the year?
I mean, people know historically I'm not really into the holidays, but it is the most wonderful time of the year. And that's because the legislature convened today, this week, January 3rd. They started, they're here in town. And so it is great that they're back in town. And we're back doing the work that we love on behalf of 50 and older North Dakotans.
So if you wonder if she really likes this stuff, now you know. Like, I'm not joking when she was singing "It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year" on Tuesday when we were up there. So before we get into kind of the new format, just a little reminder to our viewers: if you missed it in December, we talked about this new format that we're going to do. We're going to be live here on YouTube on the AARP North Dakota YouTube channel every Friday at 2:30 until the North Dakota Legislative Assembly adjourns, sine die, which is finished, gone, they're out of here for it. That likely is not going to happen until April. So every Friday from now until April at 2:30, we're going to go live. If you don't think you'll remember, the YouTube channel has a great little feature. There's a little bell button. If you click on that, that will alert you when we go live, so that you can get those alerts and know that. We may also have special episodes. If something breaks quick and happens, we may do that as well. So that'll be the way to do this. I know we've been on other platforms in previous years, but this is the format we're going to do this year, and that allows us to be a little bit more long-winded, which might not be great for you all, but gives us a chance to talk a little bit more in depth rather than rushing through everything. So subscribe to the AARP North Dakota YouTube page. Like this episode, if you would, for us. That'd be helpful just to get a sense of if you're watching it and enjoying the feedback for us to do that. So with that, let's talk about what happened this week. We already kind of gave a sneak preview. It's the most wonderful time of the year, in your opinion, that the legislature has kicked off and started. But talk a little bit about what happened this week and what was going on this week.
You know, a lot of the first week of the legislative session is just about organization and getting things up and running. And what we saw this week, the governor does the State of the State address. We have the tribal address. We have the state of the judiciary. So we really get a good sense of what the state is and where we're at in the state and what's coming forward during this legislative session. So we know legislators are introducing bills. Even before the session started, we knew that there were 300 bills that had already been introduced. And we know every day there are bills being introduced and uploaded into the system. So it's going to be a very busy legislative session, but we're super excited about it and can't wait to see what's out there. So.
Yeah, and some of the scuttle is, I mean, we're talking potentially a record number of the bills. I mean, when we were talking to our colleagues up there and talking to legislators and whatnot, it sounds like it's going to be a very, very, I mean, it's always a busy session when you pack everything into 80 days, but it sounds like we could have a record number of bills, or at least a record for a long time. In terms of number of bills up there. So I think it'll be busy. The other thing, I thought this was just unique about it, and I don't recall it being this way last session. You're going to tell me it was this way. I just wasn't paying attention, which is probably true. But they did the governor's state of the state, the judiciary address, and the tribal address all on the same day. I know in previous sessions, they did those over 3 days. And the other unique thing they did is then, while the legislature was meeting in committees the last 2 days, they didn't gavel into the floor session. Do you want to talk a little bit about why they may have done that?
You know, a lot of it is they're still getting up and running, getting organized. A lot of it's to save legislative days as well. If they don't have bills that need to be considered on the floor, they want to save those legislative days. So when they get to the heart of the legislative session, they have those days to really dig into issues that are important to our viewers and other North Dakotans. So it's really to save some time. But they really started to dig into agency budgets already this week. There were agency overview budgets. They started to talk about bills that were studied during the interim, and that's the one that we've been watching so closely. And we've been telling you about really since last year, is the prescription drug bill is already getting a lot of attention, and there's already a lot of noise up at the Capitol about the work we're doing on behalf of you to make sure you can afford your medicine.
There's a ton of noise. We're going to talk a little bit more in a little bit about what you can do about it, but I think it's really important for our listeners and viewers to know, not only has it been getting talked about in some notice by legislators, but opponents of wanting to lower prescription drug prices have noticed too and started to push back a little bit. I mean, I know I heard about that. I've seen different things and different detractors putting things out. Tell folks a little bit about what you heard and what you're hearing.
You're right. I think a lot of the opponents are already, getting potentially nervous about the noise we're making, and we're building momentum, and it's really, your voices are making a difference. We've got postcards out there, we've got billboards out there, and I think we're building this momentum. And I think people are seeing that the time is now to make some changes, and legislators know that. And I think what we're seeing is the pushback both in the media and also just face to face with the opponents and legislators, asking a lot of really good questions about what is going to happen this session, and is there really a potential to make some lasting change to lower the cost of medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's key. And just as a refresher for everybody, we have 4 big priorities heading into this session: prescription drugs and lowering prescription drug costs, specifically for older adults, but all North Dakotans is a priority for us. The second one that I know you and I have been doing some behind the scenes legwork on is about trying to combat elder fraud and elder financial exploitation, and trying to get some policies to help protect older adults there. The third one is trying to ensure that folks can continue to age in place and with dignity where they live within their community or in their own home for as long as safely possible. And then the last one is there's going to be a fight about retirement security and about some efforts to try and strip away retirement security from a certain segment of employees, specifically state employees. And so we'll be involved in pushing back against some of that. So in case you missed it, if you want a full rundown of each of those, you can go back to the episode we did in December to get a sense of that. So anything else you want to talk about this week? I think the only other highlight for me this week is, I said this to you multiple times this week. I said this to some of our colleagues multiple times this week. Like, there's just a lot of new faces up at the Capitol, not just legislators. I think there's 41 new legislators that are in their first session, but there's a lot of new legislative staff. There seems to just be a ton of new faces. Are you seeing and feeling the same way?
Yeah, same thing. A lot of new lobbyists as well. I think that really creates a new environment, both for opportunities, but that also kind of slows down the process a little bit, because there's a steep learning curve. I mean, you and I love policy. We're wonky. People know that about us, but it's not an easy process to learn. But I think what's helpful is that they're taking the time this week to really, take people step by step through the process, and that's kind of slowed things down a little bit. And the Legislative Council also created a new website, which is actually going to be very streamlined, and you'll be able to tune in and still watch legislative committee hearings live. You'll be able to watch floor sessions live. It's really a great interactive website, but because there are so many new people and so many new bills being introduced, there's a little bit of a lag time. So you won't know exactly what's happening on Monday, but we'll make sure if there's something that you need to know about, we're going to get that out to you right away. But it's just a learning curve for everybody right now.
And this is normally the point in these, and starting next Friday, I'm sure we'll get a little bit more routine on that, of where we'll talk about what's going to happen next week. I think that's still a little up in the air. I know you and I plan after this to kind of sit down and kind of try and map out next week. But again, just there's a lot of newness. And again, I think that's refreshing. I think it's an opportunity, but I've said this week felt much slower than I'm used to once the legislative session starts. I have a feeling it's going to ramp up real fast, real quick. Is part of it. So stay tuned for what's happening next week, but that doesn't mean we think we can just sit idly by. I think we really need your help next week. And by next Friday, we're really asking you to do at least one of the 4 things that we're going to ask you to do, maybe all 4. The first of which is, I know you sent out an email yesterday to our advocacy email list, getting folks to sign the petition. Do you want to talk a little bit about the petition we've been collecting?
Yeah, we've been starting to collect signatures, letting legislators know that this is on the mind of folks in North Dakota. So you can go on and you can sign the petition, let those legislators know that we want to see action this legislative session. We want to see, the Senate bill that was studied during the interim get past this session. So you can go on and join, nearly 300 people already that have signed that petition to say, this is important to me, and legislators need to do something about this.
Yeah, aarp.org/ND advocacy is where you can find that petition. Click on it, sign it. If you've already signed it, send it to some of your friends and neighbors and family members who care about prescription drug prices as well, and want to see the North Dakota legislature do something to lower prescription drug prices as well. Second is, you probably got a set of mailers that look like this. One had some pill bottles and had 2 tear-off postcards to your House member. The other one had some pills with money and had one postcard care off that would go to your state senator. If you have not returned those yet, you tear them off, sign your name, put on a first class stamp, make sure it's a first class stamp that will get it to your legislator, and put it in the mail. It's already addressed to your legislator. So if you weren't sure who your legislator was or whatnot, you can find out who that is as part of it. But encourage you to send those back. We hear about it. When they start getting these postcards, we hear about it at the Capitol. In fact, an individual who's we're going to likely have a hard time changing his mind on some things even said to me, hey, I see you guys have already got postcards coming to me from my constituents. So thanks for helping me hear from them. And even those who may not always agree with us do appreciate hearing from constituents. It really is helpful and really important. As Janelle said, part of the reason this is getting noticed is you're speaking up and speaking out, and we need you to continue to do that. Third thing, Janelle, is we want them to do what?
You can email and call your legislators directly. They love to hear from you. They always tell us, hey, Josh, Janelle, we see you all the time. And yes, we know this is important to you, but they love hearing from constituents. So you can go on that new legislative page. You can check out what district you live in, just in case your district changed. You can find their email address. You can find their phone number. And the best way is just to reach out to them. Or if they're in district, if they have meetings on the weekends, go and say hi to them. Tell them what's on your mind. There's so many ways to make sure that your voice is continually heard, not just this week, but also throughout the legislative session.
Yeah, again, arp.org/ND advocacy is kind of your one-stop shop for if you're not quite sure how to phrase something or just want some reference material that you can share. Great resources there. Janelle and Marnie, our communications director, have done a good job putting that site together for you to check out. Last but certainly not least, Janelle and I love being at the Capitol. We don't love doing it alone. And so one of the ways we've done is to make sure that you can come participate and be a part of this. And so January 24th, it's a Tuesday. It's coming up in about 3 weeks, a little less. I guess it would be 18. Yeah, today's the 6th. So 18 days from today, you will have an opportunity to come join us at the Capitol for AARP Day at the Capitol as part of it. If you live in or near Grand Forks, in or near Fargo, in or near Jamestown, in or near the Minot area, we have opportunities for you to catch a ride on a bus. We're chartering a bus on the east side, and we found a ride from the Minot area as well to be able to come join us. If you're in and around the Bismarck area, we encourage you to drive in and we'll feed you that day. We'll help you find committees, help you meet your legislators, talk to them one-on-one. That's my favorite day. It really is, because it really helps legislators put a face behind. It's not just Josh, it's not just Janelle. These are the folks that when we say older adults care about this issue, this is what we mean as part of it. So Janelle's putting together a great agenda for you. Obviously, we have a lot more to pull together, and who knows what we'll be talking about on the 24th. That feels like it's right around the corner, but that will feel like ages by the time we get to there. But sign up right away. We have limited seats on those modes of transportation, the buses. So make sure if you haven't signed up and registered, you can do that. Again, arp.org/ND advocacy. You can find the link to join us, or maybe you got a postcard in the mail, go to that link and get yourself registered to do that as well. So anything else you want to say about AARP Day at the Capitol?
It'll be my first in person.
That's right.
AARP Day at the Capitol. We didn't have one last legislative session, so I'm excited to see the hallways filled with red. You know, we might have black on today, but you know, red is our color, and we want to make sure that we fill those hallways, we fill the committee hearings, we fill the cafeteria with red shirts. So even if you don't have a red shirt, we'll make sure you have one that day. So we want to make sure that we're loud and proud on January 24th.
I forgot that, yes, last session was a little bit different as part of it. So we're glad to be able to get back to do that. So anything else you want to cover today?
No, it's just good to be back, and it's good to, let people know, that it is our most favorite time of the year. And I think we're just, starting to see what's going to happen during the session. And we're excited to tell you every week and keep you involved in this process.
Absolutely. The other thing I want to make sure you know, Janelle has a group of committed advocates that meet regularly called the A-Team, or Advocacy Team for AARP North Dakota. If you're interested in being part of that, it's kind of her sounding board and volunteer support system that really helps her navigate and think through how we do this. Encourage you to get a hold of Janelle. She'll get you on the A-Team and get you plugged in with that work as well. With that, she's Janelle Mose. I'm Josh Advocacy. This has been AARP's All Things Advocacy.